and Coffee, and we are talking about bluesy thirds. Well, what in the world's a bluesy third? Hey, look, thirds, it's just a root note, and it's third. And typically, when we're playing that kind of stuff, you know, you're thinking of kind of Brown Eyed Girl or Peace Train, you know, what else? There's just tons of songs that have, you know, major third melodic movement, but you can also use it in a blues. And if you remember, and if you don't remember, that's fine. But for those of you who have been keeping up with the Chords and Coffees, thank you for that. Thanks for hitting the subscribe button, and thanks for watching. We did an episode on dominant 7, and we talked about dominant 7 tonal center. And most time, a blues is a dominant 7 tonal center. And if you haven't seen that episode, the thumbnail looks like this. And it's a great episode. You should go watch it as soon as this one's done. And in that episode, we talked about how a dominant 7 chord wants to return to the 1. So when you have a song where all the chords are dominant 7 chords, what you can do is you can play in the key that dominant 7 chord belongs to. Well, what am I talking about? Well, let's just take a blues and E. Every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, we bring you a free guitar lesson with Chords and Coffee. These videos take time and money to create, and it's our free gift to you. All that we ask in return is that you leave comments on the videos and that you subscribe to this channel. When you do that, you make a massive difference in our ability to help to continue to have Chords and Coffee online for free. Thanks for being a part of this community, and thanks for watching. In a blues and E, you're going to have an E7, an A7, an E7, a lot of E7, then back to A7, right? And back to E7, and a B7, A7, E7. Right? So an E7 chord is the 5th of A. So we're basically going to play an A major scale harmonized in thirds all the way up the neck. I'm going to use my thumb and I'm going to use my middle finger. This is a fantastic opportunity to get this hybrid picking thing in your hand if you don't have it already. It'll feel more natural in this exercise because I think it's harder to just to strum and pick in these 2 strings while trying to avoid the B string. So this is a great time to get this involved in your life. So, index finger, 5th fret of the high E, middle finger, 6th fret of the G. The next one, as we're going up the A major scale, you're going to have your middle finger on the 7th fret of the G, ring finger, 7th fret of the high E. Slide that up to the 9th fret. Same situation, same fingers. We love it. Now back to the first shape that we were at. Index finger on the 10th fret, middle finger on the 11th fret of the G, so 10th fret of the high E, 11th fret of the G. Now slide that whole thing up a whole step. Okay, so now you're gonna have your index finger on the 12th, middle finger on the 13th, and now both of them on the 14th. If you're playing acoustic guitar, this is where it gets a little precarious and scrunchy. Don't worry, you'll survive. Now slide it up to the 16th fret, right? And then finally, way up there like this, awkwardly on the 17th fret and 18th fret, 17th of the high E, 18th fret of the G. We're not going to play that up there. That's too awkward. There's some stuff that just stays in the back of the refrigerator, left to mold and die. And that's one of them, okay? Anyway, so that's thirds in A. Why did I take the time to show you that? Well, because over in E7, if I wanted to play a mode that fits beautifully with that, E7, if I played E mixolydian, I'm basically the algebra of that, what I'm saying is E is the 5th of what? E is the 5th of A. And so if I play A major thirds with an E in the bass, it's going to sound like an E7. Stay tuned. Let me show you just one more grouping of thirds. You can do these thirds here, but you can also do them anywhere where you find a third, right? For example, right? These guys here too, right? And then if you play an E in the bass, you'll start to really hear how this is starting to sound like an E7, right? Let me give you these real quick. This is going to be 2nd fret, index finger, and middle. This is going to be on the D string and the B string, okay? And then 3rd fret using the middle and ring. Ring's going to be, or the middle's going to be on the 3rd fret of the B, and then the D string is going to be on the 4th fret with the ring finger, okay? And then slide this guy up here. This is going to be 5 and 6, right? Same fingers, right? And then from here, let's get one more on this set of strings here, and let's use, since we're here, might as well just use the pinky and ring on this one. And so it's going to be a ring finger on the D string of the 7th fret, pinky on the B string of the 7th fret. And then instead of sliding up to here, we're going to hit this dude right here on the 4th fret of the E and the G. This is going to be with index finger on the G, middle finger on the high E string, both 4th fret, and then 5th and 6th. Now with our 2 middle fingers, right? So you've got, that's right, 2 middle fingers, middle and ring. You're going to have your middle finger is going to be on the 5th fret of the high E. Your ring finger is going to be on the 6th fret of the G, and then let's just go ahead and use our pinky and our ring here for the 7th fret, pinky on the high E, ring on the 7th fret of the G, and then slide it up to the 9th fret, right? The reason we change the fingers is because at some point you might get comfortable just shifting through these different thirds to get some really cool sounds. But for right now, we're just kind of focused on the basic blues. And you might be saying right now, Nate, so far, I don't hear it. Well, here it comes. What we're going to do is we're going to take just part of these thirds, okay? Specifically, this little maneuver right here, okay? So think of this as I'm kind of starting on the D, and this is going to be my middle finger on the high E string of the 10th fret. My ring finger is going to be on the G string of the 11th fret. And then I'm going to come down to the 9th fret of the E and the G. All this is going to be on the E string and the G string. And then down to the 7th fret, and then hammer on pull off. Or you can slide if you want, like this, from the 7 to the 9. So you're going to have... and then as soon as I put that E in the bass, that starts to sound like something, right? Now, while I'm doing this, I'm picking that E string with my pick, but I'm plucking these thirds with my middle and my ring. And again, fantastic opportunity to get this hybrid picking, that hybrid picking feeling into your right hand. This is a fantastic opportunity for it. If you don't do it anywhere else, but you do it right here, it'll start to creep its way into your playing, and you'll be glad you did, because it's a cool sound, I think. I think it's got a different articulation than playing it with the pick and trying to avoid that middle string, right? So one more time. So we got 10 and 11, 9 and 9, 7 and 7, and then 7, 9, 7, like that again. So maybe hold it like this, or you can also have the top E and the B open, and just the index finger on the 7th fret of the D there. And then here's what's great: do the exact same thing in A. Well, what's that? Well, that's going to be 3rd fret, and we're going to use our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the high E, and then our ring finger is going to be on the 4th fret of the G, to the 2nd fret with index finger now on the 2nd fret of the G, and then middle finger on the 2nd fret of the high E, and then open, and I'm still playing the G string and the high E, and then hammer on the 2nd fret where I was just at. And you can use your middle and your ring there if you like, or you can go back to index and middle, whatever floats your boat. I would probably do index and middle, because it feels weird to shift like that in the middle. Anyway, then you go back to the E. Now, for the turnaround, this is just a little exercise I made up. This is just something for you to play around with, you know, whether you're just doing like a solo blues by yourself, or maybe you got a blues in E that you want to dress up a little bit, do something different than what you normally do, this would be a fantastic opportunity for that. When you get to the turnaround, this one's a little more complicated, but I assure you, my friend, you'll get this very quickly. So what you've got here is, again, remember those thirds we did just a second ago? Okay. Now, here's something to keep in mind. We're doing thirds in the key of A major over the E7. We're doing thirds in the key of D over the A7. So thirds in A over E7, thirds in D over A7. Why is that? Well, it's because, again, when you see a dominant 7 chord, its natural habitat is it's the fifth of some key, right? And so for E7, it's the fifth of A. So thirds in A major sound awesome over E. It sounds like a bunch of E7 opportunities flying past you, just the same way as thirds in D major over an A7 sound awesome. It has that Mixolydian sound. So what would be the thirds for B7? What's B7 the fifth of? That's right. I feel like I'm on Sesame Street right now, and I absolutely love it. It's E, right? So what we're going to do here, though, we got to do a little finger trickery, okay? Because we got to keep this B in the bass, unless you can tune your string down really fast to B, which would be amazing and really cool, but I can't do that. So, yet. So we got a middle finger is going to be on the 7th fret of the low E, and I'm going to take my ring finger and my pinky. My ring is going to be on the D string. My pinky is going to be on the B string, 7th fret. So everybody's on the 7th fret. And what's going to happen here is there's going to be a finger shift. So from this position, then my ring finger is going to come over and catch the 7th fret of the low E, and my index and middle are going to catch these other two shapes. So index is going to be on the B string at the 5th fret, middle is going to be on the 6th fret of the D. So, and then the shifting doesn't stop. So now we're literally almost making a bar chord, and now my pinky is going to shift over. And I will say this, there's something about this shift that feels natural once you get to doing it, because it's almost like everybody's taking a turn and holding the fort down, right? And so you're going to have your pinky on the 7th fret of the low E, and then your index finger now is going to bar the 4th fret of the D, the G, and the B. And then this is going to be, speaking of Sesame Street, wasn't that it? Or something like that. Anyway, so now your fourth fret bar here with your pinky, you're going to actually hammer on with your middle and your ring. Middle's going to hammer on the B string of the 5th fret. Ring's going to be on the 6th fret of the D, where it was just a moment ago. So, and that just happens one time. And this sort of reminds me of do-I, diddy, tell us about the boy from New York City. It's like that kind of vibe. Let's see. And then this part, which is basically going to do the exact same thing, but you have an open A string now, so it's way easier. The hard part is just getting that shift. And so what we're going to have here is you're going to have your, I'm probably going to use we'll have the open A, and I'll have my ring and my pinky on the 5th fret. Ring's going to be on the 5th fret of the D, pinky's going to be on the 5th fret of the B. And then I'm going to have my middle of my ring here on the, middle's going to be on the 3rd fret of the B, ring's going to be on the 4th fret of the D. And then index and middle on the 2nd fret. And then back up here to the 3rd and 4th fret with the middle and ring. For whatever reason, that feels way more doable if I'm focused on my right hand on that. Sliding this grip into here and my right hand grabbing that. Food for thought. But as you practice that, do it slow, and then once you get it, a lot of times we get frustrated when we try to get something that we don't quite have faster than is good for us. Does that make sense? when you're wielding some kind of chord grip and you really want to wield it and own it, sometimes you just got to practice it over and over and over again. There's stuff I'm working on now that I would love to show you, but the truth is I just don't have it in my hands yet. One day, I will. I'm just going to keep working on it, right? Okay, so after that little thing there, then we need some kind of little walk-up turnaround. And let me give you this one here. This will work just fine. So this is going to be a regular old E chord, page 1 of Mel Bay, right? You're going to have an open E, you're going to have your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the A, ring finger 2nd fret of the D, index finger on the 1st fret of the G, good old E, and now E over G sharp. You're going to have your index finger on the 1st fret of the G, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D. You're going to skip the A altogether because your pinky's going to land on the G sharp, 4th fret of the low E. And then an A, I'd use a 1-finger A in this application. Tell your friends. So I'm going to have my index finger on the D, the G, and the B of the 2nd fret with that open A string. And then the friends in low places chord. Blame it all on my roots, I showed up on Chords Coffee. Right? Index finger on the 1st fret of the A. Your ring finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the D. Open G. Pinky is going to be on the 2nd fret of the B. And then after this, that E chord that we just did, but this time we're not playing the low E. We want that B in the bass, right? Because you want the... And then, so it sounds like this. It's E over B, and you'll see an X over the E string. And then just this good old B7. Folsom Prison Blues B7. Here we've got your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the A, index finger on the 1st fret of the D, and then a ring finger on the 2nd fret of the G. Go ahead and have an open B string. You don't need much else. And then we're back into it. Right? There you go. There's a blues. But maybe just a little bit more. Let me give you just one extra little thing. So what if, let's see, and I got this stuff all over the place as far as chords. What if after we did that first thing, that whole first thing, we need one extra little element, right? Take a quick drink of coffee here. Ooh, that water was not as hot as I wished. Jordan, we didn't quite get the water hot enough. Yeah, it's got that canteen coffee kind of thing. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's all right. It's all right. We'll grit it out. Put a comment below if you've drank all sorts of coffee, gas station coffee, to poorly made home coffee, to fancy pants coffee. Occasionally, you know, there's two kinds of Waffle Houses. There's not so good, like you might get stabbed in it, and then there's really good. Those are the only kind. And if you go to a really good Waffle House and the coffee's right, phew, man, big old waffle with that fake butter and a good cup of coffee. Yep. God bless America. All right. So after you do all that, all right, and we get to the end of, what if we went all right, so what is that? So we're going to take our, we're going to use a middle and ring on the 9th fret of the D and the B, okay? And in this situation, again, I'm plucking the low E with my pick, and I'm plucking the D string and the B string with my middle. This is going to be on the D string, and then my ring's going to be on the B, okay? And the way that I'm thinking about it is I'm essentially just finger picking these chords, right? And you might go, well, that's not a chord. Well, friend, it is, because I'm playing an E, I'm holding down a B, and there's a G sharp, so that's just an E major chord. And then we're going to go back a half step to the 8th fret, making that kind of an E diminished. Very similar to like when you hear like that kind of thing, right? And so back to the 9th fret, and then let's go up here to the 12th fret. And this is where it's a little sketchy on the chord name because there's not a major third in here. I've just got a D and a B. We're going to call it an E7 anyway, right? And that's just going to be the same finger grips, instead of 9, 8, 9, now I'm just up here on the 12th fret with my middle finger up 12th fret of the D, and then my ring finger's on the 12th fret of the B. And then I'm gonna go 12, 13, chromatic up to this A here. And then what we're gonna do here is literally walk down the better part of the D major scale, but with the A in the bass. And so it's gonna sound like just a whole lot of A7 just rolling on by like you're waiting to find the place to jump on the train, right? So you're gonna have 14 and 14. It's gonna be with my middle and my ring, 12 and 12, 10 and 11. Let's see. I guess I might do that with my middle and my ring actually. So 14 and 14, 12 and 12, 10 and 11, right? So middle finger on the B string of the 10th fret, 11th fret with the ring finger on the D string still, and then slide that down to the 8 and 9, and then 7 and 7, and then I might go chromatically down to that 5 and 5. So let's see, what am I at? Right? And so that was just that little A thing down there. And once I get down to this E, I could hit like a regular E chord, or I could go back to the... Let's try that. I'm not mad at that. Now, what if I wanted more of just kind of a chordy kind of turnaround and less of these thirds? How about just a good old B7? With a little sharp 9 on it. So go back to that Folsom Prison Blues B7 that we did a second ago, and then use your pinky and hit that B string on the 3rd fret, and you might pop it off. You could even hit that high E if you want to, or you like that. That's kind of nice. And then how about an A7 with a similar deal? And then all I'm going to do here is have my index finger on the 2nd fret of the D, got an open G, got my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the B, and I'm going to take my pinky and walk it down from the 3rd fret of the high E, my ring finger on the 2nd fret, maybe take it off there like that. Or I could go from the 3rd fret of the B, slid up to the 5th fret. So right when I hit that E, and make a little E sound like that, and then turn it around again, so that whole thing would be like... Thirds! Sounding bluesy. Also, with very little effort, this is how you kind of slide into that kind of country thirds sort of chicken picking thing. If you're interested in that, please comment below. Yes, let's cook the chicken picking. I'd be happy to do that. That's one of my favorite things to do. You know, every Saturday morning we get together and we are living life the best we can. And one of the ways that you can live your life even better is to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I know you're tired of hearing it from YouTube folks, but that's how we keep these coffee beans a-brewing on Chords and Coffee. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. All the folks that get on the live chat, thank you for doing that. I think about Tony, Northern California, wakes up ready to go at 7 a.m. Or my buddy Alex up there in Canada. You guys are awesome. Ernie, Paul, Rick, I'm gonna not name somebody, and don't take offense. There's so many of you. I love you. I appreciate you. God bless you guys for watching. Share these videos, and we'll see you next Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time for another Chords and Coffee.